Good afternoon, everybody. And this topic, this global synergy for nuclear safety and nuclear security towards nuclear renaissance. When it was given to me, I had to think a lot on how to, arrive at the elements of this here. We know safety, security, interface, but synergy is, a multiplier effect. That is what was on my mind. In this, I'm not. In fact, this debate is, a settled debate about the nuclear power, a large-scale, low-carbon energy solutions, and there are quite a number of countries which are rapidly expanding their existing nuclear power programs, and there are countries which are looking at it for, for their long-term energy strategies, either replacing the carbon sources. Towards nuclear renaissance, this is the need. This robust nuclear safety and security will always remain a priority towards this. So this in this presentation, I'm going to explore the synergies in the frameworks for nuclear safety and nuclear security, including the international conventions, instruments, their shared goals, and the collaborative opportunities. Now, in nuclear safety and security, you know what is nuclear safety is essentially protecting people and environment from the plant. And nuclear security, when we say, it is protecting the plant from the people. So on a very broad scale, we can say. So that's the basic distinction which there. But their common aim is about protecting people, property, society, and the environment. And needless to say that it remains a non-negotiable priority, both robust safety and security. This is paramount towards any, towards nuclear energy in general, and for even more important, for its expansion. Now, the next three slides actually, where do these synergies come from, and where all synergies are possible. I have used two of the IAEA reports. One is the report by ADSEC and INSEC. It's a combined report number 1 it is called, and that is about the synergies in nuclear safety and nuclear security. And the other is about another report is on nuclear safety, on safety and security interface. So those, basically these three reports only, these two reports I tried to get the elements from these two reports and put it in the next three slides. While the distinction we know, but of nuclear safety and nuclear security, their interdependence becomes quite apparent, considering their ultimate goal of protecting people and environment. Now, the well-secured facilities, they reduce the likelihood of safety incidents arising from intentional acts. Intentional acts is basically the security, the acts related to the security. And yesterday, in fact, last 2 days, we have been saying it is this of concern is security events affecting the safety. Now, then both they have to both safety and security. They have to rely on well-trained personnel capable of operating nuclear facilities safely and responding to threats effectively, including the insider threat. Then the holistic approach to nuclear operations include both technical aspects of safety and the protective measures against malicious acts. Again, malicious acts is the security part of it. Then further, if areas we see in regulation, while we recognize the distinction between nuclear safety and nuclear security, these the regulatory publications or all the international documents actually, they need to be developed to ensure consistency and to foster culture accordingly. Means there should be a consistency between safety and security documents. In fact, the procedures now for development of these documents, either at IAEA or even there in the regulatory board, there are interactions towards this. In the design, it's designed to withstand both natural disasters, anticipated operational occurrences, DBS. This part is of safety, and when you design against design-basis threats, potential attacks, including insider threats, that's the design for security. The standard operating procedures, they need to address both safety incidents like equipment failure and security breaches, the unauthorized access and all that. Cyber security, in this, the safety and security go together all along. And for training, it is both understanding both safety and security protocols, which creates a good operational environment for the safety and security. And similarly, the regular meetings and joint exercises between the agencies responsible for safety and security, that is one measure which needs to be an essential part. And on international cooperation, these international conventions and the agencies like IAEA, NEA, WANO and all these agencies, they play a role for collaboration, setting safety standards and security guidance documents, and establishing frameworks. When I say, coming to the next slide, I will. Yes, when we say frameworks, it actually includes the conventions, the international conventions, the action plans made by the, let us say, the IAEA all around on whether on nuclear safety action plan that was made in 2011, or the nuclear security plans what they keep making every 4 years. Similarly, the resolutions which are adopted at various multilateral organizations, the outcomes of the review meetings of these conventions, the various declarations like Vienna Declaration, which I will come to it later, and the safety standards and guidance documents, they all make a framework for this. And for all these frameworks, these 2 points which must be, which I like to emphasize, is the national governments have overarching responsibility for nuclear activities in the country and the use of radioactive sources or other radioactive materials. This responsibility includes nuclear safety and nuclear security. This responsibility cannot be assumed by any other country or organization. This should be, this is at the heart of it. It is a national government who is responsible for this. Similarly, these both safety and security frameworks are grounded in risk reduction. While the safety framework promotes rigorous operational standards and safety culture, the security frameworks emphasize physical protection, the cyber security, and threat assessment. Now, coming to the nuclear safety framework first. Even when the IAEA itself came into existence, as per the statute of the IAEA, development of safety standard was one of the core duties of the IAEA. So it started from there. But there was no, legally binding convention till Chernobyl, till the time Chernobyl happened. And after that only a lot of these safety conventions, they came into existence. First was the Convention on Early Notification of a Nuclear Accident, the Convention on Assistance in the case of nuclear accident or radiological emergency. I will be coming to all these in the next few slides. Then the Convention on Nuclear Safety in 1994 and Vienna Declaration on Nuclear Safety that took place in 2015. The Convention on Supplementary Compensation for Nuclear Damage. These conventions established legal foundation for nuclear safety and emergency preparedness and response. And then the IAEA standards. Convention on Nuclear Safety. It was adopted in 1994 and came into force in 1996. This applied to land-based civilian nuclear power reactors. Now, the convention is based on the fundamental safety principles. There are review meetings under this convention are held every 3 years to review national reports, written exchanges of questions and answers, and the comments which have come on the national report. It's the nature of this convention is an incentive instrument in the sense that there is no verification or compliance system, and the incentive is the peer review. Peer review means when you submit your national report, other countries they review it and they ask you questions, you review their reports, and in this entire process, it's mutually beneficial for all the countries which are involved. Then in 2011, after the Fukushima accident, IAEA made one nuclear safety plan. Now it had several elements, and this plan was agreed to by all the IAEA member states, and was India also endorsed this plan in the General Conference later. So some of the elements only I have put in this. The details of this plan are available, freely available. Some of the points which were like undertake safety assessments, undertake assessment of safety vulnerabilities in the light of the Fukushima, strengthen emergency preparedness and response, strengthen the effectiveness of national regulatory bodies, the effectiveness of operating organizations with respect to nuclear safety, review and strengthen the IAEA safety standards. And that was quite a big exercise which was taken up by IAEA also. Then some other elements about this, improve the effectiveness of international legal framework. I'll come to it a little just after this slide. They facilitate the development of the infrastructure necessary for member states embarking on nuclear power program. This is also quite an important thing, that if there are some new IAEA member states or countries which are, embarking on a nuclear power program. It's actually the nuclear safety being a collective, responsibility in one sense. The other, member states that they can provide help for this infrastructure building in that particular country, and there are some IAEA documents also on this, and there are peer reviews, and I'll skip the rest of the things as well, that enhance transparency and effectiveness of communication and improve dissemination of information. That was the thing. Now, in the previous slide, we had this improve the effectiveness of international legal instruments. Now, why this Vienna Declaration had to be there when CNS was already there and there were other conventions in place, and IAEA action plan had also been made. Some of the countries following the Fukushima, they identified some gaps in the CNS, in the sense that CNS was for land-based nuclear power plants, and which was actually defined as the facility where actually the fuel has been loaded, the nuclear fuel has been loaded. Now the questions are, what about the power plants which were being built? So such questions were raised, and they called for amending the CNS itself to bridge that gap. Now this particular amending any convention is a very, very long and lengthy process. So though the discussion started with on those proposals of amendment, but considering that the amendment process, first is the signatory, one has to agree on the text, then the signature and ratification by the individual countries, again the amendment has to come in force, so it takes quite a long time. So that is why this Vienna Declaration came in, that in the interest of safety, these should be amended, these should be implemented first. And these were basically the objectives already written in CNS, though not in the articles of the CNS, but in the preamble part of the CNS it was written. So that is where this declaration came in quickly. This Convention on Early Notification of Nuclear Accident, this convention applies when an accident releases or threatens to release radioactive material across international boundaries. In the event of an accident, notify and provide full details to IAEA and to any state that is or may be affected. And information provided should be relevant to minimizing the radiological consequences in those states. That's the crux. Needless to say, all these conventions which I mentioned on safety, India is party to all the conventions. That's what I will. Then there is a convention on assistance in the case of a nuclear accident or radiological emergency. This is a state party in the event of nuclear accident may call on any other state party or international organization for assistance. And the recipient of such a request is obliged to promptly respond as to whether or not it can help, notify the IAEA of its capacity to assist, and lay out the terms and conditions of its assistance. Then there is, under this convention itself, there is a response and assistance network of IAEA, where the different IAEA member states can register their capabilities, that in case of any nuclear or radiological emergency anywhere, what are their capabilities and how they will be able to help that country. So the countries, so that in the event of an accident, they have a ready information where to approach for which particular part of the thing. Next is this Convention on Supplementary Compensation for Nuclear Damage. This establishes a global regime for civil liability for nuclear damage, including supplementary compensation for nuclear damage. This was adopted in 1997 and entered into force in 2015 only. This establishes a compensation system. It requires establishment of a compensation system, the national compensation system, and beyond that, it is the international supplementary funding that is available to the member states party to this convention. So India became a party to the CSC in 2016, aligning its domestic nuclear liability laws with the convention. These IAEA safety standards, how they are framed. It's the Commission on Safety Standards at the IAEA, which advises IAEA on nuclear safety standards. It oversees the development of standards by various standards committees, which are listed here, 5 of them. India is represented in all these, and Chairman AERB is the member of the above. India is and Chairman AERB is the member of the CSS. The CSS endorses the safety documents before submission to the BOG or the Director General of the IAEA. Earlier in one of the presentations, Executive Director AERB mentioned about the IAEA. IAEA actually is the member states plus the secretariat. It is when we say IAEA, it is not that it is only the people sitting in Vienna are doing it. It is all the member states of IAEA who make whatever the action plans IAEA make, whatever the general conference resolutions are, or the safety documents, nuclear security document, all the member states contribute. IAEA, the headquarters is only acting as a secretariat to the IAEA. So IAEA is the member states plus the secretariat. So when we say IAEA, it includes us also. That is what I just wanted to re-emphasize. It is all these things, whatever I talked of, we have been party to them all along. And India has been the founding member of the IAEA since its inception, and is the member of Board of Governors from the time IAEA came into existence. We were there in its statute drafting committee also. So that's why it's all about member states and the secretariat. Then the IAEA peer review missions, they are voluntary in nature and at the request of the member state. The IAEA standards are used as reference. The missions hosted in India, one was the OSART mission that was held, and AERB invited this mission in 2015, and a follow-up extended scope mission in June 2022, that in the sense that 2015 mission was concentrated on nuclear power, whereas the extended scope mission had this irradiation facilities included. Now let's come to some of the elements of the nuclear security frameworks. The primary legal instruments under IAEA, where IAEA is the depository, is the Convention on Physical Protection of the Nuclear Material. Then the 2005 amendment to the CPPNM. One thing which I'll just like to mention here, CPPNM and 2005 amendment, they are two different instruments. This 2005 amendment came because the CPPNM itself had some gaps. I'll come to this in the next couple of slides. Then Convention on Early Notification and the Assistance Convention, they are applicable both for as in safety as well as in nuclear security, because nuclear security events, when they have safety consequences, only they become of interest for the nuclear safety. Then under the UN, there is this International Convention for the Suppression of Acts of Nuclear Terrorism, and then there are UN Security Council resolutions 1373 and 1540. 1373 came after 9/11. And the resolution 1540 is about the WMD, that is weapons of mass destruction, including nuclear. So that also forms, because all these have to be, why I mentioned there, all these have to be taken into consideration while framing national laws, establishing national systems and all. All these are taken into account. That's why I mentioned these two resolutions also, that they form part of the nuclear security. Now this CPPNM, this was opened for signature in 1980 and came into force in 1987. And this convention actually dealt with international transport of nuclear material. And therefore, and it criminalized the theft of the nuclear material. They stressed about the international cooperation in prosecuting offenses and responding to breaches in this. Then each party required to report laws and regulations to implement convention. India is a party to this convention. Now this 2005 amendment to the CPPNM, this convention, the CPPNM, as I mentioned, it was related to international transport of nuclear material. So therein the gap remained about the nuclear facilities and the protection of the material in domestic use and storage. So that was the gap in this CPPNM. And this is where the amendment was brought in. So this amendment came, it was adopted in 2005, but took almost 2016, 11 years to come into effect. So India ratified this. I think we were a very, very early ratifier of this amendment. Much before it was sometime around 2006 itself. But the two remain separate instruments. It's not that the earlier parties who joined the CPPNM automatically became CPPNM amendment parties. No, both have to be signed separately. But if today some country is joining, it has to agree to both. That is the context on this. Then this International Convention for Suppression of Acts of Nuclear Terrorism, this is essentially, UN is the depository, and IAEA is given certain roles in this, but essentially it originated from the United Nations only, and it is about criminalization of planning, threat, and execution of acts of nuclear terrorism. And it was adopted by the UN General Assembly in April 2005. How much time is there? Then the nuclear security summits. These were the very high-level political summits where the national leaders only participated in these summits. The first one was held in 2010, and there were a total of 4 summits which were held, and about 50 nations from where leaders and experts were participating in this process. And this actually led this strengthening of nuclear security on this process led on a global scale. Means not all the countries were participant, but there were significant number. Now this nuclear security summit process is later, when after 2016, as I mentioned, there was no nuclear security summit, but then it has been for wider this thing, it is now a process of this international conference on nuclear security. So this particular conference, it is, earlier it was held every 3 years, but now the frequency is changed to 4 years, after 4 years, to coincide it with the IAEA nuclear security action plans, which are made every 4 years, and they are actually made based on the ministerial declarations that are made in these conferences. Now, some of the, it is acronymed as ICON, this International Conference on Nuclear Security, but this, so 2013, these were the, major themes or the areas of focus in these conventions. We can, and the details are available to,
Summarize.
Yeah, okay. In fact, this is last, but two slides. Okay, so one can have, the look and this part I already mentioned actually in my, these nuclear security action plans, they describe proposed IAEA nuclear security activities for the next 4 years and prepared based on the ministerial conferences. And this is also approved by the Board of Governors. Now, in summary, both, nuclear safety and nuclear security frameworks, they aim to prevent harm to human health and the environment, and must be vigilant in meeting new threats and challenges. The international frameworks, they serve as foundational pillars of global efforts to address these challenges and encourage states to exchange information, expertise and resources to strengthen global capabilities. That's the importance of this, that they, the IAEA plays a role in developing safety standards and security guidance, ensuring consistency in international practices, and last, that's the point which we want to do, that is the synergies of nuclear safety and nuclear security working together can lead to faster, safer and secure nuclear renaissance for meeting global energy demands. Thank you.